I would like to call this special village board meeting of Thursday, April 11, 2023 to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mayor Coker,
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt,
Here.
Trustee Siddiqui.
Here.
Trustee Light,
Here.
Trustee Meritato,
Here.
Trustee Pojek, Trustee Schroeder.
Here.
Please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will continue with public discussion of agenda items. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this board on agenda items? None. New business. Discussion of financial year 2023/2024 budget. Presentation by Finance Director Polling.
That would be me. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Thank you for the opportunity to present the fiscal 2024 budget to you this evening. Always a privilege to come before you and speak. So we're going to discuss tonight, we're going to overview the proposed budget. We're going to give you an update on reserves, and we're going to review the next steps following approval of the budget this evening. Timing of the budget cycle is designed so that the appropriation ordinance is adopted and filed with the county on or before May 1st. Having the appropriations ordinance approved before May 1st allows for project planning, bid development, and implementation all to start sooner. In formulating the annual budget, each department meets individually with administration and finance. Using this method allows for thorough conversation regarding departmental operations. Taking a look at the proposed FY 2024 budget from a 30,000-foot level, total revenues for all funds, $79,270,763. Total expenses, all funds, $78,712,597. Recent changes in the criteria relating to long-range planning and performance measures have been mandated by the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA. These elements have been missing from the budget document that's submitted to GFOA for consideration in the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award Program, which the village has been a recipient of since fiscal year 2014. With this in mind, the village has been working with Northern Illinois University to, among other things, develop both long and short-range goals based on the community survey. We believe that the fiscal 2024 budget is a first step towards addressing citizen priorities.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Are you taking questions as we go, or you taking questions at the end?
It's up to the board.
How do you got, how you want to do it? If you have a
I'd rather
question?
do it as you go along, because this way you can explain something.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, all right, well, as you go along, then, if you have any questions, we'll.
Absolutely. Just stop me and tell me to stop.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you for clarifying. For the first time since 2013, the general fund budget is presented as balanced, without the need to draw from reserves for level debt service purposes. This is because a few of the projects that were paid from the 2009 and 2010 general obligation bond issues have now been paid off. While debt service payments related to these bond issues continue until FY 2036, they declined in 2023 and will experience another sharp decline in 2027. Revenues and expenses for the general fund also take into account liability and workers' compensation insurance needs. Within the special revenue fund grouping is the newly created Leisure Services Fund, which includes special events, senior center, golf course, recreation functions. Capital funds include computer replacement and certain capital projects, while the debt service fund manages the 2019 general obligation bond issue. The enterprise fund accounts for water, sewer, and wastewater treatment operations. And even though the police pension fund has been required to transfer funds to the Illinois Police Officers Pension Investment Fund, say that 3 times fast, it'll remain on the village's financial statements. After years of ultra-low interest rates, the Federal Reserve took action in accelerating rates to a level that's now at 4.75%. This is welcome news for money that can be earned from investing idle cash balances, and it's also positive because as prices go up, it means that more sales tax is being generated. But there's also a negative side with respect to the price of goods and services that the village needs. It could soon also cause a slowdown in real estate transactions as mortgage rates climb, making it more difficult for would-be homeowners. We truly live in a global economy, and events, even on other continents, impact us right here. For those reasons, we must stay on guard and be prepared to respond to any and all outside budget pressures. Total revenues from all funds broken out by revenue type are shown here, with other taxes and charges for services making up the majority of revenue sources. On a village-wide basis, personnel costs, wages and benefits, account for the highest category of expenditures, followed by operating and then capital costs. The board will recall that at this year's mid-year budget presentation, about $3.3 million of general fund surplus from the prior year is being pledged, mostly for capital project purposes, the field turf project, senior center addition, and additional money for the road program. Projecting forward to the proposed budget and its impact on reserves, we believe it's wise in these uncertain times to not dip any further into our reserves. This would leave a projected general fund balance at just over $19 million, or the equivalent of 6-month expenditures. This continues to exceed both the GFOA and village reserve policy. Tax revenues other than property taxes fuel 68% of the general fund budget, with sales tax and home rule sales tax leading the way as far as the amounts they're estimated to bring in. One item that has not been included within the tax revenue estimates is the push tax. That's the 1 penny tax that's placed on video gaming machine suppliers. This matter is still in the appellate court awaiting a decision. The village is quite fortunate to have a very mixed blend of sales tax generating businesses, and it could certainly be a key reason why sales tax revenues have remained stable. Provided here are the other revenues applicable to the general fund. Licenses and permits include things like vehicle stickers, building permits, single and multifamily rental licenses. Charges for services include franchise fees for cable television and the real estate inspection program. Fines and forfeitures include things like parking and compliance tickets and red light camera violations. Interest income is the money earned on idle funds in the village's checking account, and other revenues include things like grants and towing and impound charges.
Bill, do
Yes,
we
sir.
get any revenue from rental of the cell tower by the police department?
We actually get, yes, sir, we get revenue from the carriers on the Brandon Tower, the Glen Ellen Tower, and the camera park tower.
Okay, is that under other revenues?
These revenues are actually reflected in the environmental fund.
Okay.
We sold the tower outside the PD years ago.
Okay. Now I remember. Okay.
On a village-wide basis, 36% of all budget dollars go towards salaries and benefits. In this budget, we've made a major change in how certain benefit expenses are reported. In past years, benefits like medical insurance, IMRF, and police pension were reported in a separate division and not connected to salaries and wages within departments. For FY 2024, we moved all benefit costs within the actual department. You'll see this as you look through your budget workbooks. Recognizing the impact on personal finances with respect to inflation and other increasing costs, village administration is recommending an equalization of all salaries and wages for all bargaining units and non-union positions to be set at 3%.
Excuse me, Bill.
Sir?
Doug, now, every department, health and welfare, all the medical, is in that one department right now? Like Public Works, Parks?
So
Yes.
we have taken all of the stuff that was not personnel-related costs, that was in other budgets, and moved them to the individual department budget. So insurance, pension, all the taxes, everything that goes to personnel costs is now reflective in each department's individual budget. So you see an increase from last year's budget to this year's budget, which in the police department and public works could be millions of dollars because of the additional personnel costs, that insurance cost, the IMR, the pension cost, and all the applicable taxes, they were used to be in there anyway, but all the applicable taxes are now reflective of each individual department's budget. So now we have a truer cost of what it actually costs to run each individual department.
Which also makes us comparable to our surrounding communities when you're looking at wages and benefits.
Good, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Although the proposed budget includes an 8.5% increase in medical insurance premium costs, village administration learned after the budget workbooks were printed that in fact the increase won't be any higher than 5%. We'll adjust the budget to represent those savings at the first quarter review. And the IMRF rate for calendar year 2023 has decreased again from 10.02% to 8.04%, thanks to good investments. There are a number of personnel changes within departments that have been incorporated into this proposed budget. In our one-on-one meetings with elected officials last week, Administrator Flint reviewed these changes in great detail, and additional justification information was provided to the board under separate cover. Shifting our focus now to the operating and capital expenditure side of things, identified here are the more significant projects and equipment purchases contained within the proposed general fund budget. I wish to point out a change from the budget workbook that came out of the individual meetings with trustees last week. It was suggested that the number of new flock cameras be increased by 15 instead of 10, so there would be 25 in all, pending approval of this budget. The Finance Department has requested funding to replace our 23-year-old financial management system. The system has not been able to keep up with changing technology and the many new ways that people use to transact business. One other major change to note is the way we handle permit and development escrows in community development. This change has been recommended by our auditors. The $426,000 that's shown in the slide is an expense that's completely offset by corresponding revenue. A lot of stuff, no questions. About 2.5 years ago, village administration brought forth a vision to move away from buying vehicles outright, instead entering into a financing arrangement with Enterprise. The pilot program started with police squad cars and expanded to community development vehicles, and is now being recommended for the entire village fleet. As you can see from this table, the one-year cash flow benefit exceeds $1 million. Villages also benefited in that due to Enterprise's purchasing leverage, vehicle orders have for the most part been fulfilled despite supply chain issues and chip shortages.
Excuse me, Bill, can you, go back to the financial software? Doug, when we were talking when we had that meeting, is this what are we upgrading our computers like we talked about, or?
Well, this is upgrading the financial system that we've had for 23 years. So, it's software, not the hardware of the computers. It's just the software to run our financial system. But, like Bill said, our financial system has been piecemealed for 23 years because it's been purchased and repurchased by a couple different companies and added to. And it's really not, we're not really using the capabilities of technology of 2023 today for our financial software.
This is the heart and soul of the of the finance department, the applications that we use, the core general ledger, budgeting, accounts payable, cash receipts, utility billing, all of the main primary functions that we do. This would be replacing that.
But are we looking into it in the future to upgrade our whole system?
Well,
I mean, is that,
so this will upgrade our whole financial system. Community development is looking at other software on the permitting side that Mike could actually tell you more about that, but they're working on the permitting side and the application side and trying to and the two systems will integrate together, which they don't do now, right? But they're two separate pieces of software that will work together to better track everything that we do within the village. And then from a permitting side, software that they're looking at, and I've been part of the process, Mike is spearheading that. The software they're looking at will help tremendously on the efficiencies of the permitting process.
So the software we're looking at helps us interface our operations or bring our operations, permitting, licensing, code enforcement into a digital platform. The software Bill is looking to do is the financial backbone. So any other department that has any or other type of financial transaction as a part of its operations would need to report to Bill's system in that platform. So it is a village-wide comprehensive, I think, initiative. We're looking at it independently from our operations standpoint, but it will have to interface, talk, and ultimately report to what it is Bill's proposing for his department as the backbone of our financial
okay,
platform.
I would like to get everything upgraded. I mean, we have some old stuff, we have some old things. We need to upgrade it, we need to put money in the budget for that to upgrade our system, so, I mean, we're not living in the 2000s.
So to speak to that, I'm hoping right now we're interviewing vendors for community development. I'm hoping to have a recommendation to bring forward to you in the next few months. Backstop is probably the mid-year budget, but I would like to have something to you sooner before that point so we can actually begin the rollout at that time, at least in so much as community development's operations are concerned. So we're actively approaching that.
All right, good, thank you, Mike.
I have a question.
Trustee Siddiqui?
Yeah, so this 426, is this a one-time or is it a subscription? What kind of this upgrade is it?
This will be an annual expenditure, but it's completely offset by revenues. So there's a $426,000 revenue line item that wasn't in the budget last year that offsets this $426,000 expense. It has to do with the way that we handle applicants who pay a deposit for a permit or a development. Right now, we don't treat that as either a revenue or expense. So the money coming in goes into an escrow account. The money coming out, whatever is left over, goes against the escrow account. It's not the appropriate treatment for the transaction. Our auditors have been patient with us to try to change this for the last 2 or 3 years. This is the right way to change it.
No, I'm confused. So is it, you are changing it to, what's the name of the software?
This hasn't really anything to do with software. This is just an accounting treatment for.
Oh, okay, so you are saying that you need this amount of money just to update your,
No. Two separate things.
No.
Okay.
So the 426 is revenues from, or expenses in this case, that we have written checks back to people who have applied for permits.
oh, okay.
We have an offsetting revenue for that check that we've written back to whomever for their permit fees. That's what that 426,000 is. We've never accounted for it in this way, so it's a big number to see for the first time in the budget.
So how much really we need it for the upgrade to the software?
The software system, from a state bid, right, from a state bid for a financial software system is about 300,000.
And that's per year?
No,
It's a
No,
one.
no,
It's-
this would be
okay.
a one-time.
One time,
for-
because we have this 150, it's a per year subscription, I believe, the Paycom.
Paycom's separate.
Paycom-
Paycom's the payroll.
Yeah, payroll, it's 150,000 per
Right.
year we are.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that would be 300,000, around 300,000 one time.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's an annual subscription of 50 or so. I don't know what the subscription is, Bill.
Based on the number of users and the modules that we choose to select.
Okay, and your software and your system will talk to each other?
Yes, yes.
And
So
that's, yeah, they are compatible.
that's correct. So that's something that I've been working closely with Bill on. Every major vendor in this space conforms to comparable models in terms of reporting. And so we've been discussing with Bill's team, and it's a pretty low effort interface. It doesn't need to be intrinsic to our software's capabilities. It just needs to be able to report in a manner that they need to, for their accounting purposes.
So you don't need any migration or anything like that? It will be just a little bit of a tweaking, and your department and his department can talk and carry the data over to each other?
At this point, it depends on the vendor that the finance department selects how much migration would be needed. We also have on I guess, our records management side of this, the need to be able to archive our files, and there will need to be some level of migration and reporting to our records management solution, which right now is Laserfiche. And so I want to represent correctly that there will be some costs attributed to interfacing with our solutions, but they should be fairly minimal costs.
Yeah, just keep an eye on that, because that's the key part. If whenever you are buying anything, make sure that, it will be less tweaking or migration, because otherwise it will be just a waste of money.
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yeah, Chief, I have a question here. How do you account for any of the ESDA vehicles under the lease or purchase? How are we going to replace some of those?
Currently, under this budget, there is no ESDA vehicle replacements. We have four cars, and they're just the squad cars. So we'll have to look at, Paul, the mechanic, looks at them and sees if we have to transfer them to ESDA or not. So that's where we'll go.
Okay.
Any other questions? Good questions.
I got one more question. Doug, when we do on the state contract,
For the financial software?
yes,
Yes.
isn't it sometimes cheaper to go off the state contract with another company than on the state contract on some things?
Some things maybe, but generally, we haven't found that to be necessarily true. State contracting pricing has always been our best base of pricing, just because of the volume. But I would defer to Bill on the financial software. I really don't know that much about the financial software pricing.
The two software solutions that we're looking at are both on a cooperative, on a government contract. I suppose that we could make sure that the numbers are reflective of good pricing from the contract perspective by looking at, other sorts of other pricing.
And Darcy, I mean, you're a purchasing person.
You could go to bid, or you could utilize a cooperative. A cooperative has generally been nationally bid, so that's why it usually offers better pricing. So,
All right, thank you.
And the reason we probably wouldn't want to go to bid would be because there's really two solutions that we're looking at, and most of them are in this space, and it wouldn't really be productive to try to look at other solutions. We've kind of looked at other solutions, and they're just not as robust as what these two that we've narrowed it down to are.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Thank you. The other subset of the general fund is the insurance fund. Presented here is the budget summary for that fund. Revenues for this fund come from a portion of the tax levy and through transfers from other funds. Expenses that are paid from the insurance fund include premiums for liability and workers' compensation insurance coverage, as well as self-insured costs that may occur. There are also broker and consultant expenses that are charged against this fund. The fund reserves are right about where independent actuaries have recommended that they be.
Bill, may I ask you
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question? On the page before the one before this one,
ma'am.
under leases versus purchases,
Oh, yes. Yes.
okay? I just have one question to ask you. When you lease these vehicles versus purchasing them, in 3 to 4 years, they would be paid for if we bought them. Now, how long do we keep these vehicles? I mean, do we just keep a vehicle for 4 years?
So, Mary, I can answer that.
Aye.
So the leasing program isn't a lease like you'd go to your dealership and lease a car for your personal use. The leasing program is more of a financing program, and we finance the vehicles for 4 years through Enterprise. We buy them through the cooperatives that we would buy them from anyway, and we pay them down to police squad cars. We buy them for about $55,000 through the cooperative, upfitted with lights and sirens and everything else. We pay them down to about $10,000. At 4 years, when they come out of warranty, right, because we don't want to keep vehicles longer than we have warranties on them for right now. They come out of warranty and we return and sell them. We own the vehicles. So the sale of those vehicles goes right back to the village. And then we use that money to repurchase more vehicles.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, being done with the general fund, I'm going to move on to the leisure services fund. As I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the newly created leisure services fund takes into account the activities of the special events, senior center, golf, and recreation. The major change on the revenue side of things is that the tax levy that's historically allocated for recreation has been reclassed to the general fund, and in its place, a transfer is being made to the leisure services fund to balance it. One other important point to make here is related to the golf course, noting that the revenue and expense budget reflects the estimated changes that are associated with outsourcing the banquet operation. And here are some more notable items that are contemplated for the Leisure Services Fund in the coming year. I'll pause a moment and let you look that over, but not too long.
Excuse me, the special event portable stage,
Yes, sir.
I think that's gotta come out. I mean, that's not $185,000 for a portable stage. Is not,
So the portable stage that's in there is $185,000, and it's a hydraulic run 24 by 24 stage. There are other options if there's a dollar amount that you want to take it down, or if you want to eliminate it. That's up to you, but that's the number that we used was for a 24 by 24 hydraulic stage.
I wanna take that, I myself, I wanna take that out. I'm not, $185,000 for a stage. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Not to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if we rent the park out to a group of people, we almost give the people the park for free. So if they want a stage, let them go rent one.
So this stage would not be for that type of use. They could use it for that. It wouldn't only be for that, though, just so you know. This would be for our concert series that we have planned, it would be for the car show. We would use it for a number of different events. I understand what you're saying, but just to, so you know, it's not being bought just for outside events.
When you say a number of different events, can you put a number to the number?
I mean, I'm guessing that between 10 and 12 a year. We have 7 concerts this year. I will tell you, to rent a stage for those 7 concerts is about $20,000.
$20,000 for what, one time?
For all 7
Well,
events, yeah.
we're still saving money. Even if we run it for all 15 events, it's only 20 grand. We're
And-
spending 185,000.
Yeah. I have.
I mean, I'm not for the 185,000.
And what about the maintenance? Like, because if you're going to have this, we're going to be spending money on maintenance and then also storing it while it's winter. So those all things cost money. And I agree with Pat. I mean, that's a lot of money and if we need it, we can just rent it.
I was looking, sorry, I kind of like the idea about doing it. I mean, that's a big dollar amount, it really is. I mean, I could see where, a car show, we would be able to benefit from it. And then the park parties and other things that we're gonna do. 185 is a lot. I mean,
So just to give you an idea, so when we went out and I put the stage that at the time was hydraulic, easy to put up, you hit a button and presto whammo, I have a stage. They have the same company that has the stage that's for 185,000 has a non-hydraulic version. It is not the same size. This one that's in there is 24 by 24. They have a 20 by 16. It's called an Apex, and it's about 60. I don't know if that's any better, but we put for the hydraulic stage, because that's kind of what people had looked at and said, this is, it's pretty easy. It's something that we can put up and take down fairly easy. The Apex is also not super complicated, and it is at a significantly reduced price, or we can go and just continue to rent. However you choose is up to you.
Well, I'm looking at 185, even, forget 185. Let's go 150. We could take that 150 and put it in parks, we can put it in public works, we can get some sidewalks done. I mean, for a portable stage, like I say, we need one,
Yes.
we'll rent it.
And do you have any estimate about the maintenance of these stages?
I know we've
I
had
would
one
like to
for-
say something. For 185,000, if we could rent a stage every year for 20,000, you have to, wait, let me finish, please.
No.
There would be no maintenance. We wouldn't have to worry about storing it. With our kind of weather, we really would only use it maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months out of the year. I feel like Pat does that. $185,000 is a lot of money for a stage when we could rent it for 20,000 for.
So I just want to be clear, because I used the number 20,000. That was for 7 events, because I have a quote for that.
All right.
Because I have a summer concert series that we're working on. Each time that we rent it, there's going to be additional, I could spend more than 20,000 during a year. I just want to be clear on that. But once again, this was something that, Trustee Light had brought up in a meeting. I know I've spoken with the mayor on it, and so we put it in the budget. Quite honestly, it's at your discretion. If you take it out, we will find another way to do what we need to do. That's,
Right, because even at 25,000, each time you rented it, that's still like 7 years that we would have. And in 7 years, we can accumulate a lot more. I feel that way.
Plus, we don't use it for every event.
And when we talk, I mention you that it's costly, I don't like that, I don't know. Same thing, I'm not in favor of spending $185,000 on this.
So can we take a poll? Bill, down? Mohammed? Mike?
Well, I'm going with you guys because it's a lot of money to spend on that. I really like to see something eventually because I think it would benefit, even if it was just a semi truck that we cut the side out of eventually. We used to have one and we used it quite a bit, so eventually.
Can I borrow?
Okay,
They will
so at
work on it.
3,
Can I just take it from you?
I'm 4.
I for not.
Okay, so take the 185,000 out of the budget,
Sorry, Darcy.
It's okay.
okay?
One,
Bill?
sorry. I'm
Take the
sorry.
185,000
Yes, sir.
out of the budget.
And put it towards my accounting system, right? That's the direction.
Hey, you know what? That works.
I was just kidding. I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
Probably give you more return than this.
Any other questions on leisure services? So for presentation purposes, I've combined the budgets of the Motor Fuel Tax Fund and the Infrastructure Fund. The $4.7 million in audited reserves that are taken from the FY 2022 financial statements do not include outstanding purchase orders. And there's always a number of outstanding projects in this fund and in the environmental fund. Revenue estimates for the MFT allotment comes from the Illinois Municipal League and are per capita based, using the village's 2020 census count of 33,176. Prior to 2020, MFT allocations have been hovering around 890,000 and 900,000. Then, in 2020, the state gasoline tax doubled from 19 cents to 38 cents per gallon. And in doing this, a new funding source entitled the Transportation Renewal Fund was created by the state. MFT distributions come from the Illinois Department of Transportation. Other anticipated revenues come from a federal and county stormwater grant, local gas tax, and road and bridge taxes that are passed on from Bloomingdale and Milton Townships. And of course, the largest revenue source is in the form of the general fund transfer. Shown here, the streets are included in the 2023 road program to be funded from MFT and infrastructure fund revenues. The total road program budget for 2024, FY 2024, is $4.7 million.
I have a quick question. On these programs, I discussed this before, with the road programs, are we doing sidewalks with these also and curb cut stuff? Rachel knows. I know there was the talk of doing bike paths around town. I looked at some of these, I thought about it afterwards. I was sitting there watching kids up and down Fullerton. If we made wider sidewalks, that may be able to work with bike path and transportation-wise, keep them off the street.
We were awarded a grant about 6 months ago to do a feasibility study for a bicycle and pedestrian path, and that's what they're looking at. So before we can do any construction, we need them to do this feasibility study to see what we're actually going to connect to. And their remit has been to focus on Fullerton Avenue in particular, because that is being resurfaced in FY25, I believe it is.
Right.
So they're fully aware of that, but I'm not sure it's a possibility till they've concluded the report.
Yeah, I was just looking at, I know with doing it, if it would be beneficial to widen some of these at certain times if it was possible, and,
That's exactly what they're going to look at,
yeah, all right,
all the different options.
all right.
All clear? This slide has some other infrastructure projects that are included in the upcoming budget. Note that the sidewalk repair replacement budget has been increased by $100,000. Note also that the Pearl Avenue and James Court Stormwater Project is a carryover from the current year. Both stormwater projects listed here are partially funded with federal and county stormwater grants. The remaining special revenue funds are listed here, but there really isn't anything radically new that's been identified in these funds, so I'm going to pass right past them. And this is the capital fund summary. In the capital funds, the senior center expansion renovation project, which was budgeted in fiscal 2023, is being carried over to the new year. Funding for this comes from 2 DCEO grants and matching general funds. A 3/4 mile walking path at Seams Park needs to be totally replaced. Funding for that project is being proposed. Also within the capital projects fund are funds for improvements at both Millennium Park and Pheasant Ridge Park. Village was also awarded a DCEO grant to develop village-owned property near the Great Western Trail. Therefore, design fees have been included in this budget. Following design, an application will be submitted for an OSLAD grant. And finally, engineering monies have been included in this budget for the next round of roof replacements at village facilities. The debt service fund is established to accumulate resources that are used in making annual principal and interest payments on the General Obligation Series 2019 bond issue. This is the schedule of the remaining debt service payments. Payments are made twice a year, in June and in December. Highly exciting to me. We've now arrived at the environmental fund. You'll note that the proposed budget will not require a draw on reserves. And as mentioned previously in the discussion of the MFT and infrastructure funds, the FY 2022 audited net position of $6.5 million does not include purchase order commitments. The DuPage Water Commission announced a tentative increase to the cost of water purchased by the village, effective May 1st. By ordinance, these costs are directly passed on. Other rates for water delivery, sewer, debt service, and capital infrastructure were established also by ordinance in 2020. In comparing these rates to the current fiscal year, the change represents an impact of $4.50 more per month for a residential account using 6,000 gallons of water. As is typical for this fund, there's a long list of infrastructure-type projects planned. Some of these are a continuation from the prior year, and many are part of a capital improvement project plan that was tied to water and sewer rate changes mentioned in the previous slide. Having this plan was necessary to enable the village to apply for IEPA low-interest loans, of which we now have 4. The final fund to review this evening is the Police Pension Fund. Revenues come from a portion of the tax levy, member contributions, and investment performance. As you would expect, the majority of expenses relate to retired member benefit payments. The Police Pension Fund is guided by the objectives of maximizing investment return while protecting principal. The fund operates on actuarial assumptions and maintains a balanced portfolio pursuant to their investment policy. In the fall of 2022, a majority of the fund's assets were transferred to the Illinois Police Officers Pension Investment Fund, and they've taken over investment management duties for pension funds statewide. As for the last order of my business, I'm respectfully requesting that the board approve, as amended, the 2023-2024 village budget. Public hearing would precede the April 20th board meeting, and the annual appropriations ordinance would be included on the agenda along with a request to waive first reading. Upon its adoption, the appropriation ordinance will be filed with DuPage County as required by law. GFOA allows 90 days after the budget is approved to submit the budget document for consideration into the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award Program. And that's the budget. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
No applause
Thank you, Bill.
necessary.
So just clarification, though, you're not actually approving the budget tonight. You're approving the motion to proceed with the budget to the April 20th board meeting.
Is there a motion to proceed with fiscal year 2023/2024 budget as presented? I need a motion.
As
amended.
As
As
amended.
amended, as amended.
As amended.
Pat Maritato
Make
and,
a,
yes,
make a motion
and Bill
as
Smith.
amended.
To approve. as
Yeah.
amended.
Bill Smith, second.
Second.
Yeah, Bill Smith, you know. Discussion is done already. So roll call vote, please. Yeah, you have a question?
I got a quick question, Doug.
Okay.
That 185 we took out of the budget?
Yes.
Yes,
Does that money, do we put that money back in the general fund?
The money will go back to the general fund, yes, sir.
Money will go back in general fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
All right. Now, Bill, this is no reflection on you. I think you do a wonderful job with our budget, and you only do whatever we direct you to, and I appreciate your efforts. But You know, I remember that Mayor Daley once said he should run the city like a business. Now, I'm looking at the golf course. Now, the golf course always runs where the expenses are more than the revenue received. Is this year after year?
This has been the case, yes, ma'am.
Is
So,
However,
however,
it? Yes, however, what?
at April
Why
20th,
would-
at the April 20th board meeting, we're gonna bring you a contract to enter into an agreement with a catering company to take over the banquet hall. So the banquet hall expenses every year is about $313,000. Those expenses will be cut out of our banquet hall and golf course facility fees. So, we'll be out of the banquet business if contract's approved next April.
Will that put the golf course at a profit rather than a loss?
Keith?
Thanks, I think.
Yes?
So the answer is that if everything goes the way that we have it scheduled to go out, we should be at I believe it's a minimal profit.
I would say break even, minimal profit, yes.
Because as a
Remember that
business,
the other part of the golf course is golf. And
well, I say this because as a business person, if you had a business for so many years, if you were losing money every year, you wouldn't keep that business. And I feel that, you know, we should look into this. This is ridiculous where we should be working at a loss rather than a profit. That's my own opinion, Bill. I mean, I'm just voicing it as long as everybody's
That's
voicing
why-
their opinion. I feel that, you know, we should run it like a business.
But that's why, when, if we rent this out, we would have no banquet hall, nothing to do with the banquet hall, we just collect the rent. And the golf course side will make money by itself, alone by itself, break even or make money. Depending on the season, you know, depending on the weather, rains, I mean, you know, bad spring, you can't, it's a golf course.
Trustee Meritato, just to clarify, it's not a lease, it'll be a license.
License.
Just for
I'm sorry.
clarification.
Okay, license.
I have a quick question. So since this banquet will be leased, what are we doing with the employees? Are we gonna reduce the employees? Because definitely then we don't need that many.
We won't have any. We won't have any banquet staff or cooking, or cooks.
Other than for the golf kit.
Correct.
Okay. And how much that will save us?
It's $313,000 in expenses with personnel and food and everything that goes into that banquet hall.
Okay.
We are keeping a golf site and banquet hall, we are saving over $300,000. Any,
We still have a motion on the floor.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
any discussion, you know, anybody else? Yes, also from public or not? This one? No. Okay. So roll call, please.
Trustee Schmidt,
Yes.
trustee Siddiqui,
Yes.
trustee Light,
Yes.
trustee Meritato,
Yes,
trustee Schroeder.
Yes.
thank you.
Fiscal year 2023/2024 budget is proceeding to April 20th, 2023 board meeting as presented,
As amended.
Uh,
As amended.
as amended. Number two, a motion to approve FY 2023/2024 non-union pay plan. Is there a motion to approve FY 2023/2024 non-union pay plan? Motion, Pat,
second.
Light, trustee Light.
You second it,
No,
Pat?
he
Oh,
made,
I'm
he's
sorry.
making the
You
motion.
Make a motion.
He's making the motion.
I'll second it. How's that? That work okay?
Lordy.
All right.
Discussion,
Think-
discussion. Anybody? Questions? No? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Siddiqui?
Yes.
Trustee Light?
Yes.
Trustee Meritato?
Yes.
Trustee Schroeder,
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Fiscal year 2023-2024 non-union pay plan is approved. We now go on to public discussion of agenda items. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this board on the agenda items? Yes.
Yes, Michael Ontiveros, Glendale Heights. Question, Mr. Siddiqui, you also are involved in IT for a number of years. I was involved in IT. Want to know, in the budget, what is the amount of monies that we're putting aside for the customization and the manpower when we integrate the two systems between community development and the general finance department?
Mr. Mike, you cannot question, you can give comments, this public meeting.
It was public discussion relating to the agenda
Yeah,
of the
comments,
fiscal
you can
budget.
comment only.
Can I say?
Yes, no, comments.
I have a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, Mr. Ontiveros brought a very valid question, so, and that's something which I am also worried about, and that's why when I ask you, Mike, about so because these things happen, and these things cost a lot of money. Any tweaking, any customization, all those things, so we have to, when you guys are working on it, you have to make sure that, you have put aside money or even put this, something.
Generally, as we've integrated other products within the village, all that integration is done by the vendors. The vendors, we get a product that just works. And the vendors will provide the gateways that communicate back and forth between the two software products.
So the amount of money which we have, the vendor already look into that, and then that's the money?
Well, we don't know the cost yet of community development software, right? So we know the cost of what the cooperative pricing
Yeah.
for the financial software is. We don't know the pricing yet of community development software, right? But it's not financial system software, right?
Yes.
It's 5 digits, it's not 6, right? So that integration is generally done, and a financial software product is the product that we're looking at, right? There's 2 of them, and every vendor that works in ComDev works with the 2 products that we're looking at, because they have to communicate, because that's what's used in government. So, but that integration is almost always done at the vendor level, and we get a product that they provide those gateways, they provide that coding, and they take care of all that right from the start.
So for the purposes of community development, what I intend to recommend, unless directed otherwise, is to bring a turnkey solution. So it'll be something that we have scoped out where it's, well, these are the systems we need to interface with, this is the reporting we need to achieve, this is the rollout we plan to commit to. And so the negotiation with that vendor, and who we're gonna bring to you guys for your consideration, will be for a turnkey solution. And so the price will reflect that, but the goal is to mitigate those outcomes. That it's been my experience, those outcomes occur when you try to chip away at a solution, and then you get nickeled and dimed in change orders on the back end, right? And so it's something that we're very mindful of, and welcome anyone if they want to ask more questions about the process we're going through. But right now, we're looking from an operational standpoint, what best suits our needs. And then I'm gonna bring in other senior village administration, finance, and IT to make sure that we can interface with that accordingly.
One last question, maybe it's not at this meeting, but I'll just ask a general question. The efficiencies for community development, which I have a special place for, how do we get maybe input or feedback as to what you intend to do moving forward with community development when it comes to permits, reducing times in permit applications and getting responses back and so forth? What venue do we attend to hear more about that?
I would tell you that after April 20th, when the budget is approved, I will have I'm happy to have a conversation with you and anybody else about what's in the budget and how it's going to help improve those processes.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
And I would say congratulations everybody, especially to board of trustees. We are saving over $300,000 from banquet hall, and we are saving over $100,000 on cricket contract, 3 grounds, Congratulations. Next is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Trustee Schmidt.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, trustee Pat Maritato, deputy mayor. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Light,
Yes, please.
trustee Meritato,
Yes.
trustee Pojek,
Yes.
easy meeting. Trustee Schroeder,
Yes.
trustee Schmidt,
Yes.
trustee Siddiqui.
Yes.
It was over in 10 minutes. I made it here in 9.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.